So, Marty, we've got quite an episode ahead for the listeners today. Is that fair?
For those who do not mind the occasional lapse into profanity.
Or the frequent lapse into profanity. Or the
continuous lapse into profanity.
Yeah. So there's a few F-bombs in this episode, but it is an episode where we really, I think, plumb the depths of what it is to live a good life.
I think
all through a metaphor, and I really need to stress that it is a metaphor.
Wait, it's a metaphor?
A metaphor. So it's not when we're going to talk about golf. If you keep listening, you'll get there. But the golf, people, is a metaphor. It's not about golf.
You don't have to know how to golf to listen to this episode. You don't even know at all. You don't have to know anything.
For instance, neither of us have a goddamn clue.
Ever.
What it's about.
Never golfed. And yet we're doing an episode that is mainly relies on the concept of golf as a metaphor and swearing like a wounded pirate.
There you go. So if that doesn't get you going and keen to listen, I don't know what will. Have fun, y'all.
Hi, I'm Martha Beck.
And I'm Rowan Mangan, and this is another episode of Bewildered. That's right, the podcast for people trying to figure it out.
Yes, it is. And I think I figured everything out.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Wait, no, I just lost it. I had figured it all out.
It was on the tip of your tongue.
Yeah, it'll have to come back to me. Anyway, what are you trying to figure out?
Okay. So just that, like, sometimes I feel like we live in some sort of like scripted comedy show in our house. You know, we have an unusual family structure. There's all kinds of different people floating around. And the other night I had to write down a little snatch of dialogue that went on because we have our family time. But I've got to say, Marty, we're together and yet in some ways we're still apart. Do you know what I mean? In some ways, like the fact that despite the fact that we've promised we wouldn't have our phones at family time, we always inevitably have a screen. The truth is we do. We just do, okay? So we're sort of together, we're sort of apart, and it just can lead to such comedy. And I wanted to tell our listeners about this moment that happened because for whatever reason, I was more present than you and Karen at this time. Adam is always present and probably was laughing very hard at it on the inside. But Karen, on this particular evening, was watching football on her phone, and which is a weird thing to do. Let's be honest.
I know we have like a television. Football is not easy to watch on a phone screen.
No,
anyway,
I'd have thought
it's a whole different issue.
Anyway, so this is what goes down. Karen watching football on her phone. Throw it! Oh, so dumb. Right? That's Karen. Then Marty pipes up. She's over in the corner watching a watercolor video tutorial on YouTube. And Marty says, "What's dumb?" in that voice. Then there's a long silence, right? So to help Marty, I think Karen probably can't hear her very well. So I said, "I think she was saying he should have thrown it." And Karen looks up and she says, "Yeah, he's still got the ball, but he has no right to after the way he's been playing." And you looked at Karen and you said, and I quote, and like with quite a patronizing tone, Marty, if I dare say so, "I'm sorry, I have literally no idea what you were both talking about."
It is an odd thing when you don't know, because I was watching the video. I didn't know she was watching a football game. And both of you are now talking about somebody who should have thrown it. And I thought, Adam, what's he supposed to throw? Yeah, he's the only he in the room and he's innocent.
So the only word you'd heard was dumb then, because you had asked quite clearly what's dumb. You had asked for more information.
But I didn't hear it in the sense that it got to my consciousness. I heard it in what's called a phonological loop. There's a little thing in the brain that like just repeats a sound.
Almighty.
I know.
Yeah, and it's a trick that you use to make it sound like you're listening when you're not. And you answer questions. You also ask questions from this place where you're absolutely not there. And sometimes I try and play with you. And in this way, because I try to see how far can I push you before you'll realize that you're having a conversation that's completely insane. And I remember it wasn't that long ago, actually. We were like lying in bed. You were in probably a freaking watercolor tutorial. I'm a watercolor tutorial widow, or at least kind of third of a widow. So I'm like, listen, Marty, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, And so then I push it a bit further. I think we should spend half the year in Costa Rica. And you're like, okay, that sounds good. And I'm like, do you think we should ask Kara? And you're like, no, it's not needed. So, okay. And then I just went, Marty, Marty, you know, I really think we're the new Oprah and Gail. And you went, yeah. And that's when I knew I had truly lost you. And I'd never find you again. No. Anyway, but I rushed to like reassure our listener it was a joke.
I was pretty far gone if I...
Yeah, I don't think that we're the new Oprah and Gail. I think Oprah and Gail are the new Oprah and Gail.
I have way too much respect for them to say that we are.
I would never. Listen, never. I wouldn't dream of it. Never. Marty, what are you trying to figure out? Or are you just going to mumble incoherently and watch a
I'm trying to figure out watercolor, obviously. Yeah, and then occasionally I go for a snack. And I go, and you know, when you got pregnant, you had such high ideals for organic food all the time, everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, all the child will ever eat is like kelp or something. Mm-hmm. And we have this 3-year-old now who, like, if a birthday cake goes by that's for like the next table in a restaurant or something, will dive headfirst into the cake. And she doesn't take after you in her religious attitude toward healthy food. So you've really mellowed, I have to say.
Thank you.
You're so relaxed.
I've literally had no choice.
Yeah. There's no choice.
I'm not always relaxed on the inside, babe. But
I know, but she wore you down.
Yeah.
And then I go to open the fridge the other day and I can't. I literally can't. It's padlocked.
Not padlocked. Combination locked.
Oh, okay. So this
isn't, by the way, this isn't some sort of fat phobic eating. This is not that, by the way.
No, but she gets completely insane and she gets a rash when she eats too much sugar. So we're trying.
Plus, half the time she gets in the fridge and what she eats is fizzy water, Perrier,
and olives,
sparkling water.
She loves olives.
She's a weird kid.
She wants odd things, but just because there was something in there, there's this little lock on the fridge because you are a gizmo girl and you find a thing to do everything.
Yes, I do.
And I said, everybody.
Also, in my own defense, she was climbing into that fridge.
She was also alarmingly climbing into the fridge, and she's really good at tucking herself in small spaces. So not okay. So I'm trying to navigate this lock, and there is a combination. So I said, and actually Lila was there, and she was asking me to get her something, and I was going to give it to her because I have no boundaries and I'm a terrible permissive parent. But I couldn't even be my permissive self because here's this combination lock. And I said to you, I found you eventually. I think I called you and said, our refrigerator is literally locked. And you're like, yep, I know, I put it on there.
I just thought you would intrinsically know what the combination was going to be.
Because the combination, y'all, is 666. The sign of the... If you do not know this as a very scary number in the Bible, it is. It's supposed to be a scary number.
In the Bible or in the...
something
in the horror movies.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like, so we have like the devil's fridge now. And we have
the devil's child. That was the point. It was protecting against.
Oh, okay. So what's in the fridge is the devil, not the child herself.
No, the child is the devil.
Ah, okay. Well, yeah. If you're trying to get healthy eating out of her, that's the point. So I'm setting it and I'm like, Now, it really alerted me that I have to be cautious about giving her healthy food. So I'm like, okay, I think I can get the fridge open, Lila, but I can't give you like whatever sugary thing is in there. If there's a cake or a pie, I can't just let you eat the whole thing. And
Quite
she
right.
said, yes, you can, Muffy. I will cheer for you. And then this is why she wore you down. She's too adorable. She's too adorable. She's cheering for me.
Yeah, she's really into cheering. She'll cheer for you like no matter what. She'll cheer for you on the toilet.
A lot. She accompanied me to the potty the other day, and I said, okay, close the door for privacy. She said, no, I will leave it open so that people will apologize at you.
She's got straight what happens.
Yeah,
what
she
happens
leaves,
in the bathroom.
She basically, she wants everything open, the fridge, the bathroom, and everything in between.
We'll be right back with more Bewildered. We don't say this enough. We are so glad you're a Bewildered listener, and we're hoping you might want to go to the next level with us, by which I mean if you rate and review the podcast, it helps new people find us so we can keep bewildering new souls, and you know how much we love that. Ratings are very much appreciated. Obviously, the more stars you give us, the more appreciation is forthcoming. Reviews are quite simply heaven, and we read every one and exclaim over them, and we just love you all. Mwah. So today's episode, Marty, I can't wait to get started, but I do need to give the listener fair warning before we get started. We're always quite potty-mouthed, speaking of potties, but I have to say that today there's going to be quite a number of F-bombs dropped.
Yes.
Because we have to in order to talk about what we need to talk about.
Yes.
If you are someone who is horrified by 4-letter words, go do a Wordle because they're 5 letters.
Right.
Then I would just switch off now because we're going to be dropping F-bombs like this.
Dropping the F-bomb.
Boom. So this episode begins with a joke.
Yes.
The joke is actually, I have to give credit to Aaron Sorkin, the writer of The Newsroom, where we first heard it. And boom, Marty, please tell us a joke.
Yes. Okay, so this is from The Newsroom. Jane Fonda delivers it much better than I ever could, but this is how it goes. So Jesus and Moses are out playing golf. And Moses steps up to the tee, whacks a beautiful drive right down the center of the lane, 250 yards. And he's like, yeah, that'll do. Smiles at Jesus. Jesus goes up to the tee, hits a terrible hook into the trees. Byung. But he drops his club, he raises his hands, and suddenly a storm boils up and torrential rain falls over the trees, and it forms a river where the golf ball floats, and as it floats along, a fish comes and grabs it in its mouth, at which point a hawk dives down, grabs the fish. It wouldn't be a hawk, it would be like an osprey. An osprey comes down, grabs the fish, flies up, and as it passes over the green, the ball drops from the fish's mouth straight into the cup for a hole-in-one. And Jesus turns around, puts his arms down, and nods at Moses, who says, okay, do you want to play golf or do you want to fuck around? So that's what we're talking about today. Do you want to golf? Do you want to fuck around?
Yeah. You want to play golf or you want to fuck around? So I recently had to have Marty tell this joke. This is what Marty is to me. Like, I just kind of, I have a remote control and I'm like, Marty, illustrate my story with this. So we were talking to a new friend. We were having quite a deep conversation. Well, she and I were. Marty was in the bathroom having people apologize at her. And so I was saying to this, we were talking about the meaning of life and all of that, and, how people can waste their lives in like jobs that don't fulfill them and that are just miserable and, da-da-da. And I'm like, the best way to demonstrate this would be like to have Marty come and tell that joke so that I can show her, our friend, that like come on, we're here to play golf, like
let's get serious.
Let's make the most of this life, this time we're given on earth. And so I wait for Marty to come back. I'm like, Marty, I need you to tell the Jesus and Moses golf joke. So Marty tells the joke, and I turn to our friend and I say, so you see, the point is, and she just burst out laughing and she goes, that we're here to fuck around.
Right.
And I was like, I was so humbled because she was absolutely right. And it was the exact opposite of where I was going. And I was just like, oh, Ro, the culture, the voice of the culture.
Oh, yeah.
And it took a civilian to tell me that I had it exactly wrong. Isn't that bonkers, Marty?
It really is. I mean, all the lip service we give this thing, and we still are saying, "Oh yeah, we got to let's do what we're supposed to do now. Let's use our time in the way that it has been allotted. We are on a golf course. We will play golf." And the fact is that the golf course we're on, the culture we're in, we're not good at golf. Like actually, I really
in
suck at
fairness,
golf.
the reason that I can't even tell that joke is I don't even know the word. I don't have the golf vocab to tell it. That's why Marty has to tell it because I can't use the words.
Just to be clear, though, it's a metaphor. So the metaphor is that
wait.
What is
I thought
golf
we were
in the
talking
culture?
about golf.
No, we're talking about golf as a metaphor for the things that are normally done. Like you go, this is your career. And imagine your career as a golf course. You play golf. This is what you're supposed to do. And there are things you're supposed to do in our culture that, get up early in the morning and, do a brisk walk and eat a healthy breakfast and then do something that is serious and good for the people.
Yeah, but I just want to say that that golf
Yes.
not to be too much about the golf. But golf isn't just mainstream culture that says you need to have a career. In this instance of this time when we were telling it, golf was standing in for something that was woo, but it just goes to show how culture can look like anything.
Yeah.
Like I was making golf into making the most of our time on this earth while we're wearing our meat suits and experiencing everything. And so anything can be golf, not just mainstream culture. Culture can like prop up and turn anything into golf because our brains will do that. Anyway, as you were.
Our brains say we need to do something useful. It basically boils down to we need to do what we're supposed to do and we need to have control over it. So this situation, it controls our behavior and our behavior in it has to be controlled in a way that maximizes benefit. Like it's this very...
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, very transactional. And the fact is that you and I, though I really enjoy being us, most of the golf courses we've been on of all kinds, we don't really enjoy golf.
Just to be clear, golf's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor.
Because I've never been on a golf course with you. I don't even think I've been on a golf course with someone else.
We're going to get stuck on this golf thing. It's like if we had been golfing, we would just be talking about it. But since we've never played it, it's this great mystery religion. Now, the point is that any given place I've ever gone, I'm not very good at doing what I'm supposed to do there. Like, I literally, my freshman year in college, I picked a bunch of courses that I thought were just normal. And I went and showed it to my faculty I had an advisor every freshman.
Where were you at college, Marty? I don't.
Let me think. Escapes my mind. A little place called Harvard. So I was 17. I was a complete freaking idiot. And I bounce into my faculty advisor and he's like, what classes are you taking? And I'm like, I'm taking statistics, Shakespeare's English, studio art, beginning Chinese, and philosophy of science. And he was like, What the hell is wrong with you? What are you going to do? That is the weirdest grab bag of courses I've ever seen in my life.
Do you want to go to Harvard or do you want to fuck around?
Exactly.
And your
Where's
answer
this going
was
to take you? Yeah, it was
you
like
wanted to fuck around. With
interestingly, the
statistics.
book I just wrote relied heavily on all 5 of those courses.
Oh my God, Marty, the book I just wrote relied entirely on me skipping class all throughout undergrad because I didn't write one.
Anyway, so like here, and my point is, what I was doing, he was like, you're here to play golf. You know, like if you're an English major, then take Shakespeare, but take composition, take this and that. And I was like, no, I want to do what I'm interested in, which I now realize is a symptom of ADHD. But then like a zillion years later, now it's working for me because here's the thing. We're actually, when we let ourselves not do the golf, whatever the golf is.
It's a metaphor though.
Yes.
It's probably not going to be actually
probably not golf. Could be, probably
Could
not.
be.
My experience is we're pretty good at fucking around. And when we just fuck around, good things happen to us.
Yeah.
And people say that's not true. Oh, it's fine to believe that your life can be magical and enjoyable, but you got to pay the rent. You got to play golf. You got to, sell your soul to the company store, whatever it is. But when we don't do that, when we fuck around, really good things happen to us.
Well, let's not forget that in the original scripture of the joke, Jesus is the one who gets the hole in one, right? And how does he do it?
Yes.
Fucking around. So the moral of the story, in a sense, is that fucking around is good. And we don't mean sleeping around, by the way. I was quite nervous about this because in Australia you would often say fucking around to mean being promiscuous, which is great. Go for it. Just saying, like, whenever we say we're fucking around, we just mean we're silly. We're being silly.
We're using the fucking around is a metaphor.
It's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor for the things you do.
Much like in this conversation, for the purposes of this conversation, the game of golf is also a metaphor.
Golf is a metaphor. Fucking around is a metaphor. We're using they're out on the golf course, both metaphorically doing things. But you're right. Jesus is not, he does not do badly when you read the Bible. And Moses never made it to the promised land. I think he was just too busy playing golf. Yeah.
He probably was,
Yeah.
I just thought of another Jesus and Moses joke, but it's probably too offensive to Christians, so I won't. Okay. So I think the point of all of this, Marty, is that life is too serious to be taken seriously.
Yes.
And when I was talking to our friend, I fell straight into the trap where I was like, life is too serious not to be taken seriously. And she just had to flip it on me to remind me. So it's like, okay, so that's my lesson from that conversation is where can we let go of things or at least let go of being so fucking precious about them, Like I had it exactly backwards because I took my eye off the ball, the metaphorical ball.
Yes, you did.
Hashtag sports
Hey, that
metaphor.
would work in either metaphor, by the way, at least if there was a male cis male anatomy involved. Taking your eye off
that's
the ball.
weak. To me, that's weak. But
that's a weak. I'm here to fuck around.
Hey, and she wins again. Yes. So, there was this cool thing that when we were in South Africa last year, we were talking about a lot, and it's a hard thing for me to explain in an audio-only medium. Some of you will be watching this on video, and God love you because it's going to be much clearer to you than if I try to paint a word picture, but I'm going to do it. All right. I've had a lot of coffee. If you hold out, this is another metaphor, by the way. If you hold out a pen and you're holding it and you're holding it in a closed fist, right? That is with your fingers down. And the back of your hand is up.
Yeah.
This is what we think we're doing with life because we're gripping it and we think that if we open our palm a little bit, relax a little bit, it's going to fall.
And it does.
And it does. But what if that's not metaphorically how we're holding it? What if we're actually holding it palm up and we're clutching it because we think it's upside down, but if we just open it, we've got a beautiful pen, metaphorically, on our open metaphorical hand. Because if we can just loosen up a bit on things, then we can find more, we can see more about them, we can see more options, more possibility.
Yes.
Tell me where I'm wrong.
No, you are absolutely right. And what's interesting is that the part of our brain that wants to control also causes our hands to grip. It's the same side of the brain.
Oh, so it was literal,
as
well as metaphorical.
But you can hold that metaphorical pen. The interesting thing is you can walk around with your hand open all the time. So you could, or with your hand relaxed. So the difference between playing golf or gripping the pen and fucking around and holding the pen on an open hand is what is the most relaxed thing you can do right now.
Good point.
So if you're gripping life because you've approached it that way and you relax, that will fall. What you've done will fall away. You won't be able to manage it as well. But if you approach life from the beginning, doing things in a relaxed way, then even if you, if conditions change or you make a mistake or whatever, you're working with the forces of gravity. So the more relaxed you get, the more likely you are to be able to hold on to the thing without effort.
I have another thought, which is that if we, like you're talking about, the left hemisphere of the brain is the part that wants to grab. But isn't it true also that, to my point about not taking things so seriously,
yes,
that the right hemisphere, where all creativity is also the part that handles jokes?
Yes. And I have to be, I mean, like neuroscientists are so obsessive about it. It's the whole brain working together.
If you are one of our listeners and you're a neuroscientist, like complaints on a postcard, throw it out your window.
So yeah, it's, and creativity requires bouncing back and forth between the left and the right. But that is true. The right hemisphere is not involved in most verbalization, and the places where the right hemisphere, which is more creative, more present, less less able to track time, and so very much more free from anxiety and able to appreciate and have blissful experience. It uses language for poems, songs, and jokes, especially jokes. So when you're really relaxed and joking around, you're actually working with your whole brain. Where if you're gripping something tightly with your mind or with your body, you are you're more likely to fail.
And I just think culture's so serious, right? There's so much serious in culture. So much of culture is built on serious and taking itself seriously.
You know what's really weird? It's so weird to see how quickly it arises, because there were books that I just sort of wrote because I was like in a rush. I was doing a million things I wrote in the middle of the night, and I just put.
We won't tell you which ones.
I put in stuff in articles too for Oprah magazine, and then later I'll get emails from people who are having violent arguments over the exact meaning of something that I wrote in the middle of the night when I was just goofing off, and they have made it like scripture. Like if it's in a book, it has to be interpreted correctly, and they'll be like, "What do you mean by this? What do you make of this?" And I'm like, I have no idea what you people are talking about, but don't worry. It's just something someone thought up in the middle of the night. Do not take it so seriously. And that's one where I know that it's ridiculous to take it seriously. And yet the moment it becomes sort of a cultural artifact that people are talking about and using to guide their behavior, deadly serious.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
And I actually think that looking for the letter of the law is very much the way we play golf. So much of our culture is written down and prescribed, and yeah. So, and people argue about it. Like in the Middle Ages, theologians would argue about the number of angels that can dance on the head of a pin. Or does the Sabbath day begin? How dark does it have to be to say that the Sabbath day has ended? Okay, you have to be able to tell a black thread from a white thread. If it's dark enough, not that you can't tell a white thread from a black thread, then it's dark enough to say the Sabbath has ended. But how far away are you holding the threads?
Oh my God. Are they playing golf or are they fucking around?
They
I actually
are
can't tell
playing
anymore.
Golf.
Okay.
They have clubs in their hands and they are. And another thing is when people are playing golf and they get it wrong, they go nuts. They like bash things with their clubs because apparently it's very difficult and frustrating. But so the letter of the law is the opposite of what I think the key to life really is, which is relaxing and going in any direction that brings wonder, awe, and levity at the same time.
Yeah, and like, yeah, the silliness, the laughter, the looseness, the lightness. I feel like, okay, so there was this story, we've told it on the podcast before, but I'm going to tell it again. It's something I heard Deepak Chopra say on a recording somewhere, and he was talking about being in a group of people who were working on some sort of like world peace, save the world sort of project. And they were having all these really big ideas, and it was like with some guru guy. Sorry, Deepak, I'm sorry. I know you listen to this and this is probably my lack of specificity is killing you. But anyway, there was a little guru guy there. Sorry.
You don't know how big he was.
I don't. I know. But it's in the past, so far in the past that he's gotten small because it's in the distance. Anyway, so there was a guru guy of indeterminate height. and he was sort of sitting there all bemused while everyone's like, yeah, these big ideas. And he's like loving it. And then someone says, hey, this is all very well, but where's the money going to come from? And at that point, the guru guy kind of looks at him and he says, well, it'll come from wherever it is at the moment. Like, and I just think like if we're talking about magic, and we're always talking about magic in a way, right? Like if we're talking about fucking around, we're talking about making magic. It's just like that's the attitude of don't worry about the golf so much metaphor.
So much.
Not real golf. You can, whatever. Like, I don't even know what that is. You have to wear weird pants. Don't worry so much about the golf because if you stay in the creative, light, loose space, the money will just come from wherever it is at the moment, you silly sausage.
And creativity, wonder, awe, and levity, there's a cultural assumption for us that really important things, accomplishing really important things comes with seriousness. And even awe and wonder are serious things.
True.
Joy, lightness, those two don't go together. It's like the way our golf rules are in our culture is laughter and levity go on one side, serious things and also deep wonder and awe and revelation go in another. Right. And those two don't, never the twain shall meet. And I agree with Nietzsche, who said, I must believe in a God who dances. He wanted a God who was joyful, delighted, and he also got really emotional about a horse he saw on the street, ran up to it, put his arms around it, kissed it, and
metaphorically or really?
Crazy. No, he really did. Oh. He really went crazy. A lot of philosophers kind of nuts. And then we think, it's written down. They wrote stuff down. So it doesn't matter if they're like kissing horses and crying on the street and going to an infirmary for it and then writing something. It's like, Nietzsche says God is dead. Okay, there it is. It's written down.
God says Nietzsche is dead.
Yeah, I've seen that bumper sticker too.
I saw it on a toilet wall.
But I'm going to go back to our original joke, because the point is that the surrender to the idea of magical capacity, like the ability for us to get things done in wild and crazy ways, that yes, you can find magic and trust it. That actually comes when you surrender, when we surrender to our yearning for awe and joy, meaning and delight. Like we're out there saying rainstorm, hawk, fish. That's fun.
Yeah, it is.
We're told that it doesn't work. But here's the strange thing. Like wonder and awe and joy come to me when I draw or paint, as you have noted earlier, or watch tutorials about it. And when I got to the end of my many years as a student trying to learn to be a professor and living in Cambridge and doing various jobs to get by as a student as I went through my various degrees, I got to the end of my time in Boston or Cambridge and
Harvard.
Yeah. I was getting ready to leave and I did all my little accounting, my taxes and everything, and I realized that I had actually made most of the money that got me through my degrees by either selling or teaching art.
Ooh, say more.
And I was like, that's really weird because it felt like that was the most fun I ever had. I got to be a teaching fellow in this art course taught by Will Ryman, this amazing artist, an amazing human teacher. And it was pure joy. And then I would just like go to some advertising firm and say, I really need money for Christmas. And I would take a job and do some art for them. And it didn't feel like work. It felt like joy.
Felt like fucking around.
I was fucking around. Yeah. So that very woman who said we should fuck around advised me to start like taking my art more, putting it more centrally, but not taking it seriously at all. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to I'm open to the possibility that I can just sell this stuff.
And what happened 2 days later?
It was the next day. I made a sketch of the place where we were, did a little color study that you put online. I didn't even do it. And I
didn't even put it online. I just sent it as a message to
a group,
a handful of people. Yeah.
And someone called and said, could I please, he literally said, is there a world in which I can buy this? Which is a really interesting way to put it. Because is there a world? Because to me it was, yes, he's talking about a world I never dared believe in, where I can actually be an artist.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I just didn't expect it.
So fuck around.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, my favorite books when I was little were magical. And my favorite magical books were the Narnia books and like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. And both those dudes were serious professors. And they got mocked and sneered at for fucking around when they wrote the Lord of the Rings and the Narnia books. And guess what everyone remembers?
That's right.
Guess what changed the world most?
Yeah. Golf. Metaphorically. No. Wait, no. Fucking around. I got it.
That's what did it. Yeah. You just fell into the golf reverie. We can't even keep it straight. This is such a novel concept for our brains. So for me, I'm going to be putting more priority on wonder, awe, levity, and all the things that our culture considers to be fucking around.
Because there might be money in it. And
the
also
ultimate golf goal.
And also because we're here. If we're here to fuck around, then what?
Yeah.
You know?
Then I want out.
I want out too. But before that, I'm going to fuck around and I'm also going to
stay wild.
We hope you're enjoying Bewildered. If you're in the USA and want to be notified when a new episode comes out, text the word WILD to 570-873-0144. We're also on Instagram. Our handle is Bewildered Podcast. You can follow us to get updates, hear funny snippets and outtakes, and chat with other fans of the show. Bewildered is produced by Scott Forster with support from the brilliant team at MBI. And remember, if you're having fun, please rate and review. And stay wild.